Hello, welcome to the Sunday Conversation. My name is Austin Florick, and we have this wonderful guest here. What's your name?
Faith Florick, Austin's wife.
Welcome to the show. And if you're new here, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about. Would you like to introduce the topic?
We're going to be talking about breaking generational curses, something I'm very excited to discuss with you.
Excellent. Why don't you start us off then?
Generational curses are also known as epigenetics in modern society. It's like your DNA carries trauma and agreements from previous generations in your family. So I believe it can go up to 7 generations is what epigenetics says. I believe, don't quote me on that, but I know in the Bible it specifically says 3 or 4 generations, like the sins of the parents will affect 3 to 4 generations downstream. And so this is backed up by science now, but it's been written in the Bible since the very beginning of the Bible. It's goes all the way back, I think, to the book of Exodus when God reveals himself to Moses. He says he blesses for thousands of generations, but 3 to 4 generations will be affected by the sins of their parents.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Well, that's really powerful. I remember one time I made a video about how it's called like you have the ability to create worlds or something. And basically, the premise I was trying to share about is how like the butterfly effect and generations like downstream, right? Like over time, our actions and the things that we do like affect our life. They affect us, they affect the people around us, our immediate surroundings. Like every day you wash your hands in the sink, right? Over time, your sink starts to get dirty. Even though you're cleaning it, like you're cleaning your hands and everything, your sink starts to get dirty. You need to clean it. If you don't clean it, it's going to start to build up, right? And so it's like our actions over time do start to create an effect in the world, and they create an effect inside of us. And I can't remember what the term is called, but there's a book called Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill, and he references this thing where like if you do the same thing over and over, you're creating like momentum, right? And so like imagine if someone was sinning over and over, like they are a drug addict or they are a murderer or something, and they just like to go do horrible things, and so they go do the same thing over and over. They're starting to create like an identity in themselves around this thing, but they're also starting to create like a riff in the universe of like the actions that they're taking. And if they go to the jail or something, then yeah, it's going to affect their future family, because what if they can't have kids then? Like if they would have chose different actions, then they could have had kids and that wouldn't have affected their family. So I definitely see how like we do, like we have the ability to influence the future, you know. And also it kind of reminds me of what we were just talking about, like a video we watched the other day about the Illuminati. And it's like these people behind the scenes that are like affecting us, and they plan like hundreds of years in advance on the way that they want like certain things to go or society to unfold. And it's kind of just like they could you like you could just do things subtly to manipulate someone, and over time they can it can kind of change their mind, instead of like them having control of it, or like them giving it to God and following God instead, like, you know. So I'll pause there and let you share. I shared a lot.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing that. I remember part of that video. And it would be interesting. It would be interesting to go finish it. Austin watched all of it. I only watched part of it. That stuff can kind of put me in a weird space sometimes, just thinking about how many unseen forces are at play in the world. It's written in the Bible in Ephesians 6 that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against the principalities and rulers and powers in high places of this dark world. And so that refers to Satan and the 1/3 of heaven's armies that rebelled with him at the beginning of time or before time or whenever it happened in creation. The Bible's not super clear when, right? When it happened, but it happened, and those beings affect the humans, whether knowingly or unknowingly, so it's just thinking about like reality's already ended, right? Like with time, like God already wrote the ending of reality. Like it's the end of the and end of the Bible. And in the Bible, there's things that have been completed, like prophecies that have been fulfilled, prophecies that are like being fulfilled or they're like partially fulfilled, and then there's prophecies to be fulfilled. And there's prophecies throughout the whole Bible where it's one of those three phases. And so it's like we already know the end, right? But like we're not there yet, and we don't exactly know how it's going to happen. Like, and I'll pause after I say this, like when Jesus came back, the reason that the Jews couldn't accept him is because they did not believe that God could come back as a human. Like they did not think that God would ever incarnate as a physical human being. And they didn't expect the way that he came. So I'm saying that we know the ending, but we also don't, because God says that he'll discard the intelligence of the intelligent. And so when we try and guess what God's going to do, we won't know. It says that as well. Like, when the world ends, like no one knows except for the Father. So I'll pause there.
Very interesting. Yeah. Yeah. In terms of generational curses, though, I mean, we see how like patterns can come down through time, like from like parents to children. Like if I'm raised around someone and they're teaching me about life and they're influencing me and they're taking me around certain people or places based on the things that they do, then of course I'll be influenced because those are the things that I have learned from. And you don't know what you don't know. So, like, if I was going to a bar every day, hanging out with my, I don't know, stepmom or stepdad or something, right? Like, that was just what I knew, then I'm probably going to like think about bars a lot because that's where I was at a lot when I was a kid. But if I hung out with someone else, like, but that's the thing. Like, if I grew up in a doctor's office, then I would have been around doctors and patients and sickness and health and all of that stuff and all of that lingo. But like, the other person doesn't have the other person's mind or intentions or understandings of life because they've only been through one thing. So when your parents are growing you, you are influenced by them. You have no choice. And so, of course, what they've learned is from their parents, and that it goes down over time, right? Until there's someone who sees something like, oh, you know what? This is something that is a real big problem in our family. And I can see that, like, if nobody does anything about it, that it's going to just keep staying like this. And so then that person can take on for themselves. They'll be like, okay, well, I came from a poor family, but a poor family doesn't need to come from me, you know? And just as an example, I heard that line somewhere, well, in my journey somewhere. And it just makes total sense. Like, just because you came from something doesn't mean you need to continue recreating it. And it goes back to the thing that I was sharing in the beginning is like, if you take the same action over and over, like a habit or a ritual or something, you're creating an identity from that, but you're also creating a riff in the universe where like the universe is shifting because of the thing that you're doing. Like you are creating momentum for something to continue to happen and to be like born through this as like residuals and side effects and stuff. So if I'm taking actions like going to the bar every day because that's what I realized I was used to, then I could be like, well, actually, I think that that would be really cool to help grow my family in a way of earning more finances, but also maybe I'll be the first one to go to college or I'll be the first nurse or something. And then I go and do that instead of going to the bar. And now I'm creating a new identity, a new riff in the world and in our family, and then creating new like outcomes. Like instead of going to the bar and getting drunk and wasting all of our money, now I'm going to be healthy and go be a nurse and earn a bunch more money instead of giving it all away. And then creating a better family and outcome for our next generations. Yeah, that's how you change it.
Yes, for sure. I want to lead us in a quick prayer for spiritual covering just in this conversation. Just feel that prompting. It'll be quick. And if you're watching and you don't like prayer and you don't want to be part of it, then, you know, whatever you need to do. But I'm going to pray briefly about this conversation because it is kind of a heavy topic. And yeah, just Heavenly Father, thank you so much for leading this conversation. And I just pray for spiritual covering over everyone that is in agreement with this podcast who wants to learn about breaking generational curses, Lord. And I just pray that the Ephesians 6 armor is put on every person watching with the helmet of salvation, the sword of the Spirit, the shield of faith, the breastplate of righteousness in place, the belt of truth buckled around their waist, and their feet planted with the readiness from the gospel of peace. And I just pray for protection over anyone that needs it, Lord. And thank you so much. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Is there anything that you wanted to share?
Yeah, when you're breaking generational curses, you're disrupting a lot of things that you don't even know, that we don't even see or know. We're literally, like Austin was saying, when we are causing a rift in the universe like that, it has a ripple effect that we have no idea how many people are impacted, and we can't see and we can't know because we don't see it, and that's the point of the unseen realm, right? But if you think about it, 99% of the world is oppressed essentially, right? There's the 1% and then there's the 99%, and 1% of the world owns 99% of the wealth. When you're breaking generational curses, you are taking power away from that 1%. And the reason that 1% exists is because of these paradigms that our world is set up by these dark powers and principalities. So you're not just going against your own generational curses, you're going against a societal paradigm that is bigger than you. And when you take that on yourself, it's a lot of bondage that you're breaking, and it can put you in dark places. It can put you in the hospital. It can really affect your mental health if you're not prepared, if you're not protected, and if you don't have spiritual covering. It's why I really felt like we needed to pray, because I've been put in the hospital for, doing spiritual work and trying to break bondage, and I didn't know what I know now, right? And that was when I had a really radical encounter with Jesus, and that was before I was a believer, and I didn't really understand what was going on, but I was breaking generational curses, and I had some of the scariest experiences of my life in that hospital, and Jesus is the only thing that got me through. And Jesus let me experience what it was like to fight this. It was spiritual warfare, right? But he showed me what it was like to fight with him and without him. And that paradigm, it's just such a difference. So I just want to share as well, like, breaking your generational curses doesn't go on your back, right? It goes on the cross. Like, Jesus already did the work for us, but we still have to take action, right? There's this saying one of our old teachers actually used to say, there's nothing to do, but there's always action to take. So Jesus already did what needed to be done to break the bondage, but we still have to take action and accountability for our lives. So, like, Jesus already lets you into heaven, but you have to say, I want to go, and I will follow you. You won't just go unless you take that step. So it's the same with the curses. Like, Jesus can break anything, but you gotta let him help you.
Yeah.
And I guess I would just say I wouldn't do it without him, knowing what I know now. I was doing that for 3-4 years. I was doing, new age healing and light language and sound bowls and retreats and, channeling tons of different entities I thought were helping me. And all of that work I did trying to break my bondage is what ended me up in the hospital, right? And Jesus showing me that, like, these spirit guides that I had that I thought were helping me break bondage were actually like feasting off of my soul. They were feasting off of my energy, you know? So it was like this whole thing. I had no idea that when I was trying to break bondage, they were actually putting more bondage on me. And I didn't know. And even after he saved me from all that stuff, it's been a couple of years. I'm just putting the pieces together now. You know, God's finally revealing stuff to me that I had no idea was happening. So I would just say, absolutely, breaking generational curses is really important. It's also really important to do it safely, not to scare people, but it is important to do it in a safe manner.
Yeah, for sure. That makes sense what you're sharing about um, like if you're trying to like intentionally break something, like going out of your way, like everything fights back. Like it all has an opposite reaction towards you, you know? And so, yeah. Yeah, like so, you know how we keep saying like the spirit world is upside down and backwards, you know, like and what you resist persists. If you're trying to destroy something, that means you're actually giving it more power and you're continually going to it as if it has more power over you, you know, and I think that's why like with Jesus you just let it all go and surrender and you just come to him, you know, and it's just like one single source of love and instead of like trying to do everything. Like you're trying to literally do everything. Like you got to be your own God. You got to be the one to heal so that you can grow and make money. Because if you don't heal, then then you're gonna have money blocks and like all this stuff, right? Like, and it just keeps going forever. And it's like I don't really feel like there's actually anything blocking us besides ourselves, you know. But that can't really get shown to us until we're talking to Jesus and God and like letting them reveal it to us like where we're um not showing up fully, you know. i
Totally.
remember I remember there was a lot of like dark times myself where I was, you know, just I think this is bringing a lot of more for me than I like can even, that's why I'm kind of like at a loss for words right now. um But yeah, this has always been like a big thing for me, you know, especially like in the financial world. Like I felt like there wasn't a lot of money in my family. And so like I always wanted to like change that and especially for the future generations. And I also saw a lot of things in my family that I think my family hadn't seen and from a specific perspective, you know, and like and when I tried to share about it, it would like get swept under the rug or like be turned down, or they would ignore me and like not really let me see, and you know, and then gaslight me and tell me I'm different or I'm weird or I'm not doing things right or whatever. And like it's not really supportive, you know. And like if I'm trying to help and do what I think is best, like why would I not have an opportunity to like be heard and be taken seriously for a moment? It's like there's a reason for that. Like it's intentional. Like why, like how could I not have that opportunity to share about stuff? And so I had to start putting my foot down and living differently and like not accepting certain things in my life and not accepting certain behaviors or being spoken to in a certain way. Like, you know, just like not accepting that stuff. Like I'm not going to be the one that takes that type of like behavior or bullshit onto me and then pass it down to my kids. Like there's a meme I saw on Facebook that says like it's like a kid playing the piano. There's two memes I'm going to share. There's a kid playing the piano and then there's like his adult above him saying like you're no good at it, stop. And he's like, well, if I can't practice, I'll never get good. You know, like and that's like parents trying to like override their children because they think that they know what's best for them, but in fact like the kids have a lot inside of them that they just need to be held and like raised up, you know, so that they can let that stuff out. Another one was Like there was three generations. The top generation was like shouting at the middle one, and then the middle one was turned and facing them and like telling them to stop, and then but behind them was a kid. It's like a little kid, and that they're basically like saying like I'm not going to continue to keep shouting at my kids. Like you're shouting at me, and that's fine. I'll sit here and take it, but I'm not going to do that to my kid. Like this isn't how we're going to raise them, you know. So it's like it's powerful and it can be uncomfortable, you know. But it takes courage and doing that really changes a lot of things, you know. Like it's changing the world. It's creating a better future with more love.
Yeah, that butterfly effect you're talking about with that parent that's like, I think of this book, or this movie I watched too. I don't remember the title, but it was about that, about breaking the pattern, right? They're like, you break the pattern or the pattern breaks you. And it was a movie
Mhm.
about a woman who got into a physically abusive marriage and, you know, had to break that pattern because her mom was in a physically abusive marriage and stuff. But it just shows me like when you break free, like everyone downstream of you, like any children you have onward, right, don't have that curse. Any of your friends, right? Like you and I have experienced this, Austin. Like when we move through something, the people around us, we get in contact and it's like, oh, they've moved through something similar, you know? Like when I was in the new age and I was doing money work, right? Like I haven't gotten to where I want to be, I haven't broken all the curses, but I did some work and then I talked to people in my family and like they were having breakthroughs in money and I was like, wow, like I'm not saying it's all me, but we're like doing this at the same time. Like we're going through the same lessons. So when you start being like, I'm going to do it, that's really when it starts shifting, you know? And yeah, it just makes me think about that. You know, it's like God sees that and then it's like working in multiple people at the same time that are connected. So it has more of a, like you said, it has a bigger ripple effect than you can see because God sees it and God is like, okay, like cool. Like y'all are moving together because he has the big picture and he knows like, okay, this person's here, but this person's here. And actually later on, they're going to be doing something together for my kingdom. I need them to both work through this together to get there, you know? So there's like that unseen element as well that, you know, we don't see because only God sees that too.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. You got anything else?
Excuse me. Um, yeah, actually, I have a little bit more I could share. Um, I wanted to tie it back to the Bible really quickly with this book. There's a lot of generational curses that you see, like when you read about like a father, like I'm reading about Jacob right now in Genesis, right? And Jacob's parents, Isaac and Rebekah, played favorites with Jacob and Esau. So Jacob treats his wives, he has multiple wives and children, and he treats them as favorites as well. So it's like his parents started out with this whole like favorites. It even goes back to Abraham though, like with Abraham, he had Ishmael and he had Isaac, and Sarah didn't like Ishmael, right? Because Hagar, Ishmael's her mistress, Hagar's the mom, was treating Sarah bad, right? So it started with this whole thing, and it all started, this is why, with them not listening to God. God said, I'm going to give you a child, and his descendants will inherit many things. And they didn't wait for God. And so they created their own end result. You know, they were like, oh, God's not going to give us a baby. Here's my mistress. I can have children through her, which is common in the Old Testament. So they have a baby. They have Ishmael. And it is a huge mess. It's a huge mess, right? And because they did not listen to God and wait for his timing and his way, it created this huge ripple effect. And it's still to this day in the Middle East. It says in the Bible, like they will be warring with each other, and they're still warring today. And look at where all the war is. It is in the Middle East with Israel and Palestine, with Jews and Muslims. Like it is still going on, and it started all the way back in Abraham. And so that ripple effect right there with like the favoritism between Ishmael and Isaac, like just impacted the entire world, the entire world from one person making a mistake.
Mm. Wow.
So yeah.
Yeah, totally. Makes sense with Adam and Eve, right? I mean, they're the first people on the world and everything came from them. So they were the biggest influence, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it makes you just think about if they had acted differently, like if Genesis had ended differently, right? It doesn't end with Adam and Eve, but it ends with like, like Moses or something. I'm not all the way through Genesis yet, but the beginning of it is about Jacob and Joseph, who is Jacob's son. It's a whole thing, but with them being slaves in Egypt or becoming enslaved in Egypt. And it just makes me think about if that had ended differently, where would we be, right? Because Genesis is like the beginning, right? It's like all this drama in Genesis between all these people like not behaving the way they should be behaving. And then it's like the rest of the book is like God cleaning the mess up. He's like, all right, now I'm going to clean the whole big mess up. This is a big mess. I'm going to fix it, but it's going to take some time. It's going to take some patience. It's going to take some accountability from you guys. It's going to take growth, and the funny thing too, I'll say as well, is like you look at the stories in the Bible and like people haven't changed, right? From the beginning of this Bible to the end, like human nature is human nature. Like it's not. People are lying, cheating, stealing. People still lie, cheat and steal today. We haven't been like, lying's really bad. We should stop that collectively. Like, no, people lie all the time, every day. It's just something that is like the sin nature of the world. It's embedded into our nature right now. And it's just, yeah, it just makes me think about the impact that has as well. So
yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
I want to ask our viewers here or in the future, what generational curses are they working on breaking in their own families?
It's a great question. We'll put it down in the comments below as well, and people can type in there. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Appreciate you all. Any last words?
I just pray that this blesses you, and I just pray that your walk with Jesus, wherever it's at, whether or not you feel like you have one or not, is all good. But I just pray that your walk with God flourishes and that you find everlasting peace, happiness, and joy. And I would say, if you have any questions, reach out. Join us in our school community. Do you want to talk a little bit about that before we close out?
Yeah, it's a work in progress. We're getting there. But the links will be in the comments or the description.
Much love.